I mean, don't try to change the world too much. I mean, it's great to change the world, but very few of us are actually doing that. And instead of fighting that, just try. It doesn't work, you can always go back to lower price.
Welcome to UpTech Report. This is our Founders Journey series, Leaders Insight. I'm very excited to be joined by my guest, Adi Azaria, who's based in Israel, CEO of Workiz. Now, this is part 2 of our discussion. For those that want to hear more about Workiz, go back and listen to part 1. Their platform is a field service business scheduling and management software. But what I'd love in this discussion is to hear more about your journey, Adi, and the insights that you've had over the years of growing companies. To start, just what's your story, man? How did you get to where you are today?
Do we have a couple of hours? I'm gonna be short, I promise. So thank you for having me. My story starts. I mean, as a young kid, I was very curious. I mean, I broke up every single device that I had at home, and my first startup, I didn't even call it a startup. Was basically a way to store information on the old cassettes, radio cassettes. This was unsuccessful, but I mean, at least I had an experience of trying something that nobody else thought about before. My real startup experience started when I was I was serving the Israeli army for about 3.5 years. Basically, a lot of challenges over there. You do a lot with not a lot, and this gives you the ability to flourish. I think that this is what I've learned throughout my entire life. When you have little, you do a lot. So don't starve yourself, but definitely go that route, and you'll figure out who you are, who you really are. Mm-hmm. And at that point, we were handling a lot of pen and paper. I mean, most of the work over there in this elite unit was basically ruining a lot of rainforests. I mean, it's as a byproduct to the paper. And I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand that, we need to change something in one of the papers. We need to go to every copy and basically update it. I said, guys, we have computers these days. It was, 25 years ago. It was a long time ago. But we have computers. We have Photoshop, goddammit. I mean, let's try to do something else. And many of the people over there told me, no, it's not the way to do that. I mean, we're used to not pen and paper. I mean, this is Workiz, but we're used to papers. I mean, we like to see the news over a paper. I didn't give up, and I pushed it into some sort of a POC. Again, today I know all the terms. Back in the days, it was like, okay, let's do that. Spend some money, bought a computer, trained a few of my colleagues over there to handle this. And a year later, guess what? No more rainforests done. I mean, we actually ditched the entire paper that we were using for digital. Throughout the years later on, the entire Israeli army is working in the same way. I'm not sure it's only because of me. I'm sure that there were a lot of smart people that thought the same thing in their units. But in general, this was my first experience.
And what year was this?
2000, I think 1999, that was the year when we started this project. I believe that, we saw that immediately. The efficiency and the speed that things happen later on created something amazing. And this gave me a whole new concept about, computers can change the world, right? If it changed this place that was so stubborn on paper, it can do anything. I took a year off traveling the world, just trying to understand, what I want to do. Came back to Israel, studied computer science. Third year of computer science, I basically grouped with 4 of my friends. And we've done some sort of a project that, to date, it's called business intelligence. I didn't even realize that back in the days. This is, we have data, let's do some charts and it's going to be great. And we founded in 2004, 2005, we founded a company called Sisense, which is today one of the leading BI companies in the world. I was very green. I don't think I was so great about, coding and scripting. At some point, I was pushed to the business side. You're lousy at that. Maybe you should do that because nobody else wants to.
You're kind of suffers, but you're go be a people person. Go talk to people, sell the product.
Exactly. Like you have a nice smile. Let's do that. And you know, we're talking, and maybe some other entrepreneurs are listening to us. I didn't want to do that. It took me off my comfort zone. I love the computer. I love but I had to. And from this experience throughout my entire life, I'm pushing myself through an uncomfort zones. And I know that when it's uncomfortable for me, an exponential growth comes right after.
You've had that track record now to know that uncomfortable growth means uncomfortable feeling means actual good growth and scaling up
Yes.
after.
You're afraid of making the move. You're afraid of speaking to the first client. You're afraid of putting yourself out there. But once you do that, the feeling inside is so strong and you become a different person. It actually changed me a lot. So I started selling the software. I mean, me and some other guys eventually it became.
It's 2004, 2005. Like when did you make that shift to where you were selling it?
About 4 years later, which
Okay.
is a long time to be a startup. Don't do that, guys. I mean, have an MVP and sell it like right after. And we waited too long, but you know, it was a different year and different situation. But when we started selling, I mean, we saw that people are buying the product, and that's great. At some point, we grew the team, and suddenly we've been to a few millions of dollars of sales. And I'm not a sales guy, right? So I'm starting to bring some business guys or better sales guys than me to run the business. And eventually the company goes 10, 20, $100 million a year, and everything grows like crazy. Great experience.
So simple that it's just that it just happened.
You know what? You don't even realize it's happening once it's happening. I mean, even when people are telling you, "Oh, we're doing great. We're growing X5, X6 every year," it's like enormous. You're doing great. So you don't see that. You work very hard, and you don't feel that you're doing something extraordinary. I think the only time that I felt proud of what happened is only when I left my company. It was the only time because I could reflect. But when you're in that, you know, in the trenches, doesn't matter how successful you are, you only see the next challenge, and the next growth phase. But maybe just me.
In that reflection, looking back over the years where your primary role sounds like was sales and the scaling of the organization, can you think of where were like major pivotal points and like what enabled you to get to the next phase? Anything pop out in your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Never discount your product. I mean, this was the biggest mistake that we had. I mean, the same product that we've been selling for $50, 2 years later was sold for $50,000 a year. So $50 a month versus $50,000 a year, the very same product. It's how you sell that. And to be honest, Mercedes is not way different than a Toyota. It drives, it takes you from point A to point B. It's how Mercedes is selling. And once you realize that, I'm not saying go on and sell an enterprise product, but if all your competition is doing that, and if the buyers are rich and they are enterprise businesses, I mean, don't try to change the world too much. I mean, it's great to change the world, but very few of us are actually doing that. And instead of fighting that, just try. It doesn't work, you can always go back to lower price. But it's clearly one of the biggest mistakes that most startup entrepreneurs do. They just price themselves. They believe that they can sell the product because of the cheap price, instead of selling the product with the value. How much you value that as a customer?
How did you determine that $50,000 mark? Like going from that stage to the next, you're like, all right, we got to change something. So let's just pick a number. Did you when someone makes that change, decides, all right, we need to charge more, go after enterprise. How do you make that decision?
You ask a lot of questions, like, why do you need that? How will it change your future? So we divide everything into current state and future state, right? What are you doing these days, and why the hell are you speaking with me? So you're losing money, you don't know what kind of decisions you want to make, and you try to assess what's the cost of this current state. And once you realize that, you say, well, $50,000 is a bargain, right? And you know what? Once you say it in a very confident way, the guy on the other side actually said, well, you know what? It's a bargain. It's actually cheaper than Microsoft or Oracle. and it gives me the same value, so why not? Of course, it's not really the case in all businesses. At Workiz, we're sending, we're selling to small and medium businesses. Our software
Yeah, this is a shift for you. This is almost like going back to where you were at the beginning, Sensei. But you have the experience of knowing how both play, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really depends on your market. Like if my market includes millions of potential customers, I can definitely sell you a few $100s per month, and this is going to be fine. Mm-hmm. But when your customer base is only a few tens of thousands potential, you will want to increase pricing. Otherwise, why would you open a startup? But you always need to feel the market and to feel the customer base and to feel how much value your product brings, even to a smaller company.
And once you make that shift to saying, all right, we realize we only have tens of thousands, not millions of customers that could be using this. Let's do more of an enterprise mentality or mid-market. What was the next big aha or pivotal moment that you took away from that experience in that growth stages?
Yeah, prove it before you sell them. So it's all what we call the proof of concept these days. We haven't invented the inside sales, but we created most of the methodologies that everybody are using today. We learned from a lot of companies, and we reinvented the wheel. So basically, instead of getting to a few weeks of process, face to face, we've done it, like everybody's doing today, like over the web. Even when you sell $50,000 of software. But we realized early in the days that you need to create minor aha moments within the process, like figure out what's their biggest problems, take only one of them, prove that you can do that very quickly, and soon enough, they will pay you all the money that you want because they've seen that on their data. If you can create a product that can do that fast, and this is exactly what we do, by the way, at Workiz, just in a simpler way with self-service, not,
one-on-one customer.
In general, when your product is simple enough and it solves a major problem, the customer realizes that, very early in the process, and they basically buy in their head before you even try to push it. Mm-hmm. You don't sell, they buy. It's a different, mindset.
Making that shift from selling to where they just buy it because they see it. Is there any main takeaways that you've learned both from an enterprise and when you're doing more of the small business market, or when you're going after millions? Where have you seen as major roadblocks that cause people to stop and not want to buy, and trying to avoid when you're building your product and trying to sell it and market it?
When you go to the enterprise market, it's always the social proof, prestige, security, all these things that makes a company buy a different product. There are some companies in the world that rely on Gartner, and if you're not on Gartner, you basically don't exist for them. Doesn't matter how good your product is. So guess what we've done at Workiz? We're a very small company, and we started working on Gartner on without really knowing where we're going to in the next few years. But we knew that if we want to go to the enterprise, let's solve this problem right now instead of in a few years. Okay, let's be a leader. Let's be somebody that is different than everybody else. And I can happily say that this happens. We're a fourth front runner for the 2-3 years in a row already. Mm-hmm. And so you prepare yourself. You need to be more secured if you do SOC 2 or whatever is needed over there. But most importantly, you need to ask the right questions. When you go to interact with your first customers, or suddenly you interact with a bigger customer, you just need to ask, what kind of process you guys have? When you buy products, how usually you do this? Do you have procurement? Do you have legal? Who else is involved in the decision-making process? This is ABC in sales these days, but most sales guys forget to do that. Specifically when you're an entrepreneur, you say, well, I'm going to show them, they're going to like it, they're going to buy. Doesn't work like this with bigger companies. Mm-hmm. And it's what we call a lot of resistant factors that you don't even realize or reveal until it's too late. You send them a contract and then you say, whoa, hold on, man. We have a process, it's going to take 3 to 6 months, blah, blah, blah. But if you knew about it to begin with, you're going to start a lot of these processes to start with.
Mm-hmm. Coming into mentality, knowing that it's going to take longer, is it just like, all right, having the right mindset going to, oh, this is going to take 6 months and we already need to like find out who are the key people, stakeholders involved. How did you approach it when you were selling it, knowing it was going to take a little bit longer?
First, my goal was to reduce it to about 45 days, and I succeeded. I mean, I knew that the entire market is working in a very lengthy project. So how can we, and we realized very early in the process that the lengthy project is because of a lot of face-to-face meetings. So if we can show it to you right now, minute after the demo, I'm just switching to your system and showing you that this is the best thing that ever happened to you. The decision process is like, in a few weeks instead of a few months. So that was the biggest win, I guess, to reduce the time of the decision. These days at Workiz, I mean, we're giving 14 days free trial, and guess what? At 14 days after the trial is over, people are buying, even without me pushing them. Why? Because they see enough value. Now, imagine what will happen if I'm going to reduce this to 7 days. We're going to try that soon, right? But who knows? You need to try. There is a trial and error, and that's the only way to really know your market. Because if you're going to see your competitors, you're basically going to, try to copy them. And who says that they're doing the best things?
True. In a more product-led environment where you guys are, not sales, you're not reaching out. How have you found ways to market in today's environment where it's very noisy and there's a lot of software options out there? How are you reaching out and at least getting awareness for them to say, okay, I need to try this?
You need to do creative things. I think that the most bold thing that we've done, not me, I mean, my CEO, basically, he went on stage and took a big blender, a Ninja blender, and put a lot of fruits over there and exploded it and said, this is how you blend data. I mean, it was messy, but it gave us, people experienced that. Another crazy thing we've done is some sort of a partnership with Amazon, like speak with your data. If we're talking about, getting off my comfort zone, my first, public experience was 2,000 people that came to hear the CEO, and he got sick. And so he called me and he said, yeah, well, you're the best guy for that. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to do that. Worst experience in my life. I'll tell you why, because the presentation is in Hebrew for 2,000 people. Now I'm presenting the Alexa, the Echo device, and I'm saying, what's the sales in the US? I mean, I'm speaking in English because that's what Alexa understands. And the other half of the presentation, I just switched to English because, it was in Hebrew. And I didn't realize that until people were like, what the hell is happening here? So again, bad experience, but it taught me a lot about me being able to present to a lot of people. And since then, I'm doing, 5,000 people, 3,000 easily, right? It's the same tension, like you're stressed. You're a little bit stressed when you go on stage, but it's not really different from selling in $1 million a month or a year, right? It's this big of a contract, and speaking to a lot of people have almost the same tension. It puts you off your comfort zone, sleepless night, dry tongue, right? You feel uncomfortable. When you feel uncomfortable, you should know that it's a good sign, not a bad sign.
I feel like that's a reoccurring a theme here, and a powerful one, to know that if it's uncomfortable, that's a good thing. It means you're growing and you're expanding. Now, for you guys at Workiz now, and from your previous experience, hiring, building a team. I mean, that's a crucial, right, to be able to grow. For Workiz, how big is the team today?
We're about 50 people. We're going to be 100 very soon.
That's growth.
Trying to, at least. There is a lot of challenges in the market right now, but we've decided to basically create a worldwide presence. From a company perspective, meaning we have an office in Manila, we have an office in San Diego, we have an office in Texas, we have a small office in Atlanta, and a small office in Miami. We have another office, big one, in Tel Aviv, Israel. We take the qualities of every region, and we try to basically be the most efficient in every place. It's working pretty well. Zoom meetings are crucial, of course, to maintain relationship. It doesn't relate to the COVID era. It's just part of what you need to do in order to maintain good relationship. We tend to create a very small, I mean, short meetings. Even the company meeting is only 15 minutes a week. That's it. It's getting boring later. I mean, we try to be right to the point, try to be as engaged as we can, but nobody can stand at 45 minutes. Everybody are moving to the next tab and get bored. And our goal is not to take the entire company and miss like 50 hours just because the CEO loves to speak. And I really like to speak as a CEO.
So it's keeping Zoom meetings going. It's crucial for relationships, even if you're across time zones, but keep them short, 15 minutes. Is there any other tips or insights as far as when your team is distributed and especially across time zones that has worked well to keep you guys working well together, culture-wise, but also productive?
I'm going to say something that is counterproductive, but we actually embrace that. We call it personal growth. And I really believe that working very hard is non-productive. So you need to take a step back. I'm meditating on a daily basis, and I see the effect on my day. And when I'm not meditating, I understand, how tired I am. So realizing that, and meditation is just a way. You don't have to meditate. You can do sports, you can read, you can do whatever you want. So we actually enforce it, or basically push people to do personal growth projects, which is on top of the working hours. You cannot do it outside of working hours. In many cases, we're going to pay for that. And the goal is to give you some time off all the craziness. Because when you go home, you have your family, you have your friends. I mean, you're not relaxing really. But if I give you time to play guitar or piano midday at work, you will do that because it's part of work, right? And this gives us a great boost in every different aspect. Not everybody wants to do that, which is, funny. I'm giving you free time to do whatever you want, and you don't want to do that. But I get it with people. I mean, we get into our routines, and if we forget about, our personality, I mean, you don't live to work.
It's that balance. I love it that you force your team to take time to do not work things during the workday. Switching up here, too, because I know we could be digging into this for a long time, but I am curious, looking forward from here, technology itself, where we're headed. What do you see as the next tech prediction of what we'll see in the near term, 1 or 2 years, and long term, 5, 10 years? From your perspective?
So short term, we already witnessed this crazy, everything mobile thing. It goes to services like Uber Eats and others, and we will see more and more and more of it. We will get a little bit more lazy. So services are coming to our place. Anything that doesn't come in like a few hours or a few minutes, we're just not going to use. So a lot of the old services are just going to vanish from the world. We're going to see less supermarkets, or even if supermarkets will exist, they will exist in a different form of more automated supermarkets. I mean, we see that all around the world these days. It's not just the machine like they're replacing the cashier. It's just fulfilling your needs when you're there automatically. And there are so many ways. You can see that in Japan mostly these days, but it's becoming more of a thing all around the world. Most companies will and are investing in machine learning and AI. So we're going to see stuff that is more suitable to us, more personalized. It's a little bit scary, I know, but it's here and it's here to stay. We need to learn how to embrace that, right? Given the fact that we're still in the COVID era, I do believe this is a prediction. I don't know, maybe it's not going to happen, but usually my predictions are true. I told them. The worst prophets always say that. I'm always right. But seriously, I believe that we're in the beginning of a hockey stick. I think that we all talk about, 10 years that was shrinking to 1 year of technology advancement. That's not going to stop. It's just going to be faster and faster. We just realize what's happening around the world these days. Low altitude satellites are going to bring internet everywhere. Just think about what happened to the world when the internet was really fast. But it happened only in the Western world, right? What's going to happen in Asia, in Africa, and in other, poor places once they're going to have fast internet? The Elon Musk or Virgin or whatever vision these guys have is going to connect the entire world and going to bring billions of people to the World Wide Web. Think about what it's going to happen, what it's going to do to your business, to your e-commerce, to innovation. Okay? Nobody in the US is smarter than a guy in Africa. It's just a matter of education. But if education will be equal, suddenly you have billions of people thinking about solving the world's problems. This is going to create what we call the exponential of the exponential. And I do believe that we're just in the beginning of this hockey stick, which the world has never seen. We might have some bumps in the way, but just look at how fast we created a vaccine. I'm lucky to live in a country that, most citizens are now vaccinated, and I'm without mask. We have restaurants, everything is open, right? It's possible. And this is mostly due to the technology. Machine learning and AI created a lot of new molecules, and at some point, you could see that few different companies came up with the same solution. This means the technology is here to stay and to win. And this is also the first time that the world is against one thing instead of each other. So these are huge events in the world, and they're definitely going to take us to the next era, I believe, as better humanity.
You connected a lot of dots there, Didi, for me. As the world is about to get a lot smaller, with every single person being able to connect online. Everyone has smartphones these days, even those who don't really have good internet anywhere. But suddenly they're going to have access to internet, and that will change a few things in this world. Well,
we live in the most exciting world, most exciting times in the last 100 years. I'm sure of it.
And I'm excited to see what comes next. Thank you so much for the insights and the lessons learned over these past few years for you. For those that want to learn more about Workiz, go back and listen to part 1 at uptechreport.com of our discussion. Also, you can go to workiz.com and be able to see their platform. Thanks again, Didi, for your time. It's good to have you on, man.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll see you all on the next episode of UpTech Report. Bye-bye. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.